Daniel, good morning. How are you, my man?
I'm great, man. It's awesome to be here.
Well, thank you for coming in. And someone said that you're a vegetarian. We were talking about that before we even knew you were. Well, we knew you were coming in, but before we knew that you were a vegetarian. Is that accurate? Are you still?
Well, I was a vegan actually, which is even more. It's no eggs, no dairy, no animal products of any kind. Although I wasn't as strict as some vegans don't even do honey because it comes from bees.
But it doesn't actually kill any bees or anything.
Yeah, that's what bees do. They naturally create honey.
Right.
So anyways, I'm not a vegan anymore.
Yes!
Well, I became an unvegan in the most unmanly way possible. Is that I developed a soy intolerance, and so it's like on the road it's hard to get your protein if you can't have soy if you're a vegan. So it's like,
Well, Dieter doesn't believe that people can get enough energy or what is it, protein or whatever.
The essential amino acids. It's not a complete protein source. Just all these plants. Eat a whole bunch of all this. I love meat. Bottom line, I love meat, man. You got to eat meat.
Right.
For meat. You look like a meat eater, like a lumberjack.
Yeah, I can see your point of view. I don't eat a lot of meat. I don't feel like you need to eat meat. Although there are some stuff that said when you become vegan, you have to be very careful about all that kind of stuff because vegans, especially because you're not taking in the dairy or anything like that, there are some amino acids that you're missing. So,
and then like zinc and like B vitamins.
And iron is a problem. So
do you actually eat meat now? Or so you were vegan. Then I heard that you went vegetarian. But do you eat meat now?
No, yeah, I eat a little bit of meat now, but not very much. It was never a philosophical thing. For me, it was a health thing. Mm-hmm. In 2009, I used to wrestle on the independents, not in the WWE. Mm-hmm. So in 2009, some of those rings are really dirty. You can imagine the dirtiest little places that you can possibly wrestle. I wrestled in those places and got 3 staph infections in 2009.
Okay.
Because I have a really weak immune system. And so when I got signed by WWE, shortly thereafter, I still had to fulfill my independent obligations, and I'd gotten another staph infection. I was like, oh no, if they bring me to TV and I have this staph infection, they're just going to fire me, right? And so I went to my doctor, and he said, well, these are kind of your issues, and the idea is meats, cheeses, all that kind of stuff takes a lot of energy for your body to digest. So by cutting that stuff out and eating foods that are easy for your body to digest, you'll have more internal energy to fight off bacteria, that sort of thing.
Did you feel better or worse?
Oh, I felt way better.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I started getting sick again last year. And they did a bunch of blood work, and they saw the soy thing. And with us being on the road 250 days a year, you can't find quinoa most places. Yeah. You know what I mean? As far as
I don't even know what that is, but I'm assuming it's hard to find.
Right? Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like it's hard to do. It's really difficult to find places on the road. So I've just adopted eating eggs and that sort of thing.
Oh wait, is that burger commercial? Have you seen that turkey burger commercial for Bud Light? Is that what that stuff is? Quinoa?
No, it's like little
it's a grain.
Yeah.
It's a grain.
Well, they have have you seen that? No. Bud Light has a commercial where a guy, his girlfriend packs like this vegetable burger patty or whatever, and he puts it on the grill and eats it just because the last time she did it, she won. It's all right. If you've never seen the commercial, it doesn't make any sense. Dieter said that you look a little bit like a lumberjack. You're from Aberdeen, Washington,
I'm from
which
Washington
is like
State,
that has to be lumberjack capital of the world.
My dad's a log scaler,
is he?
Actually, so it fits in. So I grew up around a logging community, so yeah.
Wasn't Kurt Cobain from Nirvana? Wasn't he from Aberdeen?
Yeah, he sure was. He sure was.
Did you go to the same high school or anything like that?
We went to the same high school, although he did not graduate. He said that he would sleep under this bridge in Aberdeen, but it's impossible to sleep under. It's just good water.
Yeah.
Like you can't sleep under there. So not only was he a great musician, but he was a fantastic liar as well. So
he's like the most famous. And people in Aberdeen, was he like the most famous guy? Well, I mean, how old are you? You were.
I'm 32.
Okay.
So
okay.
I was.
So when they were big, you were probably
high.
Yeah.
Junior high, they were big, and like when I was in high school is when he had killed himself. So,
So the most famous Aberdenian, if that's a word that I can.
Yeah, and which is really sad because of the their music was great, right? But because of the suicide thing, that's sad. And we have a Nobel Prize winner from Aberdeen, Washington. So it's like, you know, but we get outweighed by the
Kurt Cobain. Yeah. How so? So I read that right after high school, you pretty much decided I want to get into wrestling, or maybe you decided that while you were in high school. Or whatever.
Yeah, I left the night I graduated high school to drive down to Texas to train with Shawn Michaels, actually, who's a legendary wrestler.
So this was in your mind that you wanted to do this for quite some time then?
Yeah, ever since I was a little kid. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a wrestler. So.
Why? Just you saw it on TV, or your dad liked it, or what was it?
Who knows why you get into wrestling? It's so weird, right? Dudes out there, like I look at myself now. If people were to watch me tonight, and like there I am out in spandex, I've got this massive beard and this hair, and I look ridiculous, you know. And I'm out there fighting other men who are also wearing spandex. You know, it's
two guys sweaty, rolling around with each other.
You know, and like I'm not one of the guys who like oils up before he goes out there, but a lot of the guys do, and I think it's because people are so self-conscious about image and stuff like that. Oh, you know, I want to look great on TV and that sort of thing, and the oil, I guess, makes you look leaner or more vascular or whatever. But it's so weird when you're standing out there and you see the guy that you're supposed to be fighting, and he's walking out and he's all oiled up and super tan,
glistening.
Glistening. So yeah. But you know, there's just something about it, and the energy and the atmosphere. And I went to my first live show when I was probably 9 years old. My dad still talks about it. My dad's not a wrestling fan. He has no interest in wrestling. But we went, and he still talks about that night. That's one of his fondest memories, because one of the guys got his pants pulled down in one of the moves, and my sister just was like, but my dad will talk about it to this day, and ever since then he was never afraid to go to a wrestling show. He didn't like necessarily watching it on TV, but he loved the live atmosphere.
Well, I never, a few years ago, I have to admit, I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but WWE, maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago or something, they gave us front row tickets to go to this match. And I go, all right, we might as well. I've never been to one before. And it was actually maybe like your dad. I mean, I had a great time. It was actually extremely entertaining just to go and people watch, for one thing. The matches were pretty good. It was cool being up that close. It was a lot of fun for people who have never gone to one of those. Oh yeah, before. It's a blast. You don't have to be a huge wrestling fan to go.
My sister actually doesn't watch wrestling or anything like that on television. But I have a little niece who's turning 4 this weekend actually, and she brings her, and she just loves it. Yeah. You know, throws her hands in the air and like screams and that sort of thing. And then my sister because she only saw me before at the independent level, where it's like you're in a high school gymnasium and like 200 people, and she's like, oh, this isn't very much fun. She comes to the WWE shows where there's pyro and there's all this stuff, and it's a show. It's entertainment. It's like it's this live spectacle, and our production people are just the best. That they do this 52 weeks a year. We did
that was part of the fun of watching, of just being at the event and seeing sort of the behind the scenes sort of things that were going on, and how choreographed this is. I mean, right down to the second. I mean, they have this. They are very smooth at running that stuff.
Yeah, and to do that live in different buildings every week, our production people are the best. Like just the absolute best. I don't know how they do it. So
you leave the day you graduate high school or the next day or whatever. You literally leave that quickly and go down to Texas.
Yeah, because it's a long drive from Aberdeen, Washington to Texas. And
your dad must have said, "You're crazy. Why don't you become a lumberjack like me?" Or whatever.
Well, yeah,
right?
I was actually did relatively well in school. My mom was hoping I'd do something better with my life, like help people. Like she works with she used to work with underprivileged kids. Now she works with the Native Americans and stuff like that. As far as helping them, she's her degree is in psychology and that sort of thing. So she helps people. She's a really good human being. She was hoping I would turn out to be a really good human being, and now I go now I go out and I fight people.
Wrestle glistening men.
Yeah, wrestle glistening men. So yeah, they like my mom, I think, really wanted me to be like a doctor or something like that, or
yeah,
a
mine too. My
something.
dad's a doctor. My mom was a nurse, and now I do radio. They were very disappointed.
Right, yeah.
Now that we've actually had success, gone into syndication and stuff like that, now my mom can't get enough of it. She loves it. She thinks it's great. But when I started, she was, you're never going to make any money doing this. This is, you sure you want to do this? But it's what I always wanted to do, kind of like wrestling was with you. You've always wanted to do this. So
yeah, well, I was very lucky, though, because my family was very supportive. They did not necessarily agree with my decisions, but they were very supportive. And especially, like, you move to Texas and you're 18 years old and your only job skills are baling hay and, like, working at KB Toys or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm living on $20 a month for groceries, you know, like, so my mom would send me $50 here or there and that sort of thing to help me get through. But now she watches every week. It's crazy. It's good because she'll talk to me about it. Like, what happened? Are you okay, honey? Are you? And she always calls me my son. My son. What you did to that man last week was so mean. Like, so you know, now I get a little bit of that. So.
Does you? I mean, you were in these independent leagues for maybe it's normal. It seemed like an eternity. I was kind of going through Daniel Bryan's timeline, and from the time you started wrestling, when you could get out of high school around the year, I don't know, 99 or 2000 or whatever it was. I mean, you did that independent stuff for a long 10 years.
Yeah,
more than 10
I
years.
did 10.
Probably.
I was on the independents for 10 years, and going to Japan and going to Europe and going to Mexico and all that kind of stuff and learning all the different styles.
It sounds like it might be kind of cool, but I'm guessing that in reality you're not making a lot of money when you're doing that independent stuff, and the accommodations are probably not, you know, first class. It sounds like it would be a less than glamorous lifestyle.
Okay, it is less than glamorous, but I assume it's a lot like being in an indie rock band or something like that. It was so much fun.
Yeah,
like I just had such a good time. Like I was talking to one of the guys about sleeping in my car so I could go and train at this dojo, so I could go to Japan and that sort of thing. And never once was it like, oh man, this sucks. Like, it was like, oh sweet, I get to go to this awesome dojo tomorrow and like train with some of the best trainers that you can train with and that sort of thing. And that's I guess the part that a lot of people think negatively about a lot of that kind of stuff is if you love what you're doing, it doesn't seem like that much work, and money has never been a big thing for me. I grew up relatively poor, and so for me, living on $12,000 a year, are you kidding me? I have $1,000 a month. That's awesome. Like, you know, so it was, but eventually it actually grew to be where I was making decent money on the independents because I had built a solid reputation. I was going all these places internationally and that sort of thing. And yeah, there were a lot of nights sleeping in airport floors and stuff like that, but it wasn't, it didn't ever seem like work. If I had to go back to it now for example, last night we did a pay-per-view in Detroit. After the show, after I was done wrestling, I was able to shower. I had clean water to drink. Like, I didn't have to bring my own gallon of water to the show. And I just think, oh, this is great. And it would be hard for me to go back to a flea market where after the show, you know, you have to get into a car and drive 6 hours with a bunch of other dudes who haven't showered and you're all crammed in there. It's like, stay at a Red Roof or something. You know, Red Roofs are nice. I don't want to I don't want to upset the people at Red Roof, but
they're big sponsors of WWE.
so yeah.
It says, well, so you start. How did you get into the WWE? Then they just take notice of you when you're doing all this independent stuff, or do you constantly lobby to make it into the WWE, or what do you do?
A lot of people constantly lobby to get into the WWE. I was very fortunate. I started training with Shawn Michaels and then went on to train with a guy named William Regal, who's just fantastic. And they kind of told me, hey, don't try to get in here necessarily. Like, go do what you love to do, because my dream was actually always to wrestle in Japan and that sort of thing. because I thought because of my size I'd never make it in WWE. When I was a kid, WWE, Shawn Michaels was a small guy and he's over 6 feet tall. So for me, I was just doing what I was doing and was actually getting a little bit of a reputation. And I tried a couple times. I said tried to do my stuff, but the last time I really tried was 2005, and then in 2009. One of my friends was doing this thing where he needed a tag team partner. He brought me in for a tryout for that, which I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. A month later, he gets fired. And I was like, oh, well, there goes my shot there. And then 3 weeks later, they called me and wanted to hire me. And so it was really, really strange and bizarre, but yeah.
But it still doesn't even happen then. Once you make it into the WWE, it's not like you're an overnight success.
Absolutely not. Yeah, lots of people get signed by the WWE and never even make it to TV.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate because I'd been wrestling so long they didn't need to send me to their developmental system, which is down in Florida. But a lot of guys get signed and go down there and they never see the light of day as far as coming to TV. It's a very arduous process to get on WWE TV. You know, you have to not only be good, but you have to have the right opportunities and that sort of thing to come up. Because if you come in with a bad something, say, you know, you're I don't know, the Chicken Warrior or something like that. You know what I mean? You come out there in a giant chicken costume, you know, like it may be awesome for a couple weeks, but then after that, you know, people are going to be like, oh, we don't want to see this Chicken Warrior guy. So.
All the WWE guys seem to be pretty intelligent too, all the ones that I've talked to, and it's been quite a few, dozens probably.
Do you know what? It's crazy because there are some
There's some real morons.
Yeah,
okay, tell us who they are. Who are the dumbest wrestlers?
Okay, so I will tell you this, and I don't know if he's the most intelligent wrestler, but he literally blows my mind as Kane, and you wouldn't expect that from this big giant monster guy who wears a mask and all that kind of stuff. But like,
he's been in the studio with us numerous times, and he's very.
Talks about politics with
He
you.
loves politics.
Forth.
I mean, off the air, we're talking about politics. He's into that stuff.
He got invited to Ron Paul's barbecue to speak. Ron Paul invited him to his barbecue to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a guy who dresses up in spandex, like we say, puts on the mask, and yeah, he's super intelligent. On the flip side of that, okay, there's a guy named Heath Slater who's part of 3MB, which is like a rock band group, and I love Heath. Heath is hilarious. But at his wedding, his best man said something to the effect of this: "Man, I love Heath, but he's the dumbest guy I know." and so, but Heath is, you know, he's just a wonderful human being. But if you were to, you know, wanted to talk to him about quantum physics, you know, he's not the guy to talk to about that. But it's interesting because intelligence is a very interesting topic of conversation, because somebody like Heath Slater has a lot of intelligence about real world applications.
Right.
Like, you put him out in the woods, I bet he'd survive longer than me. You know what I mean? So intelligence is different things to different people. So.
What about someone told me that you are dating one of the girls, one of the WWE girls. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's actually.
Now, is this real, or is this like part of a storyline?
No, it's real. It actually started as a storyline.
Yeah,
and then we really hit it off, and actually it was shortly before our storyline ended, we kind of started dating each other. We started off real slow, but now we've been together for 2.5 years. The WWE has a show on the E! Network now called Total Divas. It's a reality show, and Brie and her sister are on that, and I'm on it a little bit, and I never thought I'd ever be on a reality show, and here I am just mugging for the camera. So yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride.
Now, do you guys, when you start dating and you guys have like a storyline going on and that kind of stuff, and then you actually start dating, do you keep it under wraps from people at WWE, or how do you guys go about it?
We did, and actually, because, you know, like, it's so weird. And I would assume it's the same in any workplace, you know, because you don't know at first if it turns out like it has for us, where we're really serious and living together, or if it's just going to be a flash in the pan type thing. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you kind of keep it under wraps, but then, like, there's other guys who are hitting on these girls because everybody's men, what I mean,
and they're all glistening.
Women, all glistening, and if you keep it under wraps, guys don't know, they're not gonna, so it's very
well. There's probably been a lot of relationships too that, like you said, you guys have been together for over 2 years now, but there's probably been a lot that fizzle out after a month or two, and then there's probably some sort of awkwardness going on.
There would be with any workplace.
Right, exactly.
It was weird because there was a point where a guy started being like aggressively hitting on her without knowing that we were kind of seeing each other, and then he had done something to me that normally wouldn't upset me. But I had turned and I said, "If you touch me one more time, I'm gonna break your thumb." And I wasn't kidding. And so, but it's those kind of things happen. And actually, I wish they would catch that on the reality show. Is guys threatening to break each other's thumbs.
So is that weird being on this? So you show up on this reality show every now and then, and do you feel? First of all, I can't actually, the stuff that is on, I've never seen the show, but I'm guessing most of it isn't actually real reality, right? Or how do you appear on this? They're just following them around or what?
Yeah, so for most, I'm a bit player because they're following around Brie and Nicole. And so, for example, something had happened, and this was a couple episodes ago. They went to a bachelorette party in Las Vegas, and I was there. And so they told me they were going to a Chippendales thing or whatever for the bachelorette party and whatever. But I'm on the road 250 days a year, right? So I had to go we had taped SmackDown on the Tuesday, fly from there to Las Vegas. It's Wednesday, and that's when they're going to do the Chippendales thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm tired. So I'm, the time difference and everything, West Coast, it was, I went to bed at 10 p.m., right? I was dead asleep, but they're out doing whatever. I hear a knock on the door at 2 a.m. and I'm just like, oh, Brie must have forgot her room key or something. I open the door, and the first thing I see is this bright light just shining right into my eyes, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And Brie's drunk as can be, and she comes into the room, and the people are following her into the room, and I'm in my my boxer shorts, and and Brie, because they went to this Chippendales show, she got this stuff, she got these like handcuffs or something, the play handcuffs or whatever, and some sort of like body paint or something, and I don't even remember what had happened, but she all of a sudden she goes, "Doesn't this look fun?" And she slaps the handcuffs and I just look at her and I said, "Get these handcuffs off me or I'll scream." and they show it on the show, and you're just so aggravated that they're there and that she's there and drunk and this light's in your face, and all I want to do is sleep, and it's 2 a.m. and I've been on the road for 5 days, and yeah,
so do you guys so you live together now, so you guys get to see each other a fair amount. I mean, I would assume your schedules are just out of control.
She had actually taken a year off. That her and her sister, because they're twins, they had left the WWE for approximately a year, and they came back, and it's actually been nicer because we were living together. And with me being home so infrequently, that puts strain on any relationship, Like if you come home on a Wednesday, she hasn't seen you in 5 days, and you're exhausted and don't have the mental energy to do anything other than just kind of like slowly walk with her to the farmer's market or whatever. And then Thursday you kind of have a day together, but then you're packing for the next 5 days. You know, it's a strain. Well, now it's nice because we see each other when we understand when we're both tired, or if she's tired or I'm tired or whatever. And then, when we're on the road, we're doing it together. So we like to try to find like local foods that have like all their stuff locally or organically or something like that. And man, we hit up an awesome place in Saginaw called the Maple Grill or something, where they had a garden out in the outside the restaurant, and the food was just amazing. And it's one of those things that's neat because then you're sharing it with somebody who you can talk to about it later. It's hard. I'm sure you guys know people who travel, or you guys do it, and then when somebody asks you about it, you can kind of tell them, but they don't understand unless they were there with you or unless they've been there. So that's really nice. It helps us relate,
What's the Daniel Bryan is here with us. WWE Raw is tonight at Quicken Loans Arena, 7:30 tonight. It sounds like you really enjoy I think some people maybe get into wrestling because they want the fame or they want to be a celebrity or whatever. But it sounds like you just got into it because you really enjoy doing it. What's the worst part of this? Now that you've made it, you're in the WWE. This is the top of this is as big as it gets wrestling wise to do what you're doing. What's the worst part of it?
The worst part is not getting to see your family. Like, I am a very big family person, and so, for example, like my niece is turning 4 next week, and I don't get to be there. You know what I mean? Like, my mom and my dad are both approaching 60 years old. You know what I mean? They're approaching that age where they want to be around their kids. You know what I mean? We've both grown up and left the nest. Well, my sister lives in Pennsylvania. Both my parents live in Washington State, which means I only get to see them a couple of times a year. And I think one of the things that I think people in society are kind of crazy is the lack of that structure that humans have evolved needing, that family life, that social structure. We're people who need people around us, and now we have technology and Twitter and all that kind of stuff to keep us.
You can go weeks without actually seeing someone if you
keep
want.
us connected, but I think there's a disconnect as far as what we actually need for that. And for me, I really miss my family and that kind of connection and that kind of bond. And the WWE people kind of become your family. The wrestlers become your family and that sort of thing. But those people who are most important to you, the people who will be there when you're done with all of this, those people you don't get to see as often as you like. My best friend, I haven't seen in like a year. And I'm like, he lives in Seattle, and we rarely get to talk. And one of my favorite people on the planet is he's a grappling coach. His name is Neil Melanson. He was Randy Couture, the UFC fighter's grappling coach and stuff like that. We were just in Las Vegas where he lives. I didn't even get to see him because we were just kind of in and out and that sort of thing. That is the one negative about this job, is that you get to do all this amazing stuff, and hopefully at the end of it you get time to spend with your family. But for example, if something were to happen to my dad today, I would feel horrible that the last 14 years I've spent very little time around him. It was easier when I was on the Independents, actually, because I could take a Sunday off and we could go see a Seahawks game, right? It was just a boatload of fun, do father-son things that are just so precious and genuine and make life worth living. And now we don't get to do that as much, So my off days are days where he's off log scaling, right? So it's when he gets home he's tired, so I'll when I go home I'll go and I'll see him, and but he's got to get to bed because he has to get up to work at 4 a.m. And so it's that's the kind of stuff that makes this job hard. The rest of it, if you ask me how good is this job, I can't imagine anything better.
What do you want to do after, when you physically? It seems these guys last a long time. I mean, they're 55-year-old dudes running around doing this.
Undertaker.
What do you want to do after this?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to. I'm strange as far as wrestlers go. I just want to have my own little organic farm. I'm talking 5 acres or less, and I don't even want to sell anything. I just want it to be self-sustaining and that sort of thing. And I enjoy working outside. I enjoy working in the garden. I like that sort of thing. And yeah, that would be my dream, to have my own little self-sufficient farm where if we have extra vegetables and stuff, we take it to the farmer's market and we sell it, or we trade it to somebody else for something we need or whatnot, and yeah, just being close to my family and friends. That's all I really want. So
Daniel Bryan here for WWE Raw, which is tonight, 7:30 at Quicken Loans Arena. I have a pair of tickets to give away. A couple pair of tickets, right, Tom?
Yep. First and second row, man.
First and second row.
Nice.
Oh, my God. All right.
But the key is you got to be able to pick them up by 5:30 today here at the radio station. So.
Okay. If you are caller 30 or 31, give caller 30 the front row and caller 31 second row.
Okay.
1-866-YO-ROVER. You can't lose either way. I mean,
no,
front row or second row. 1-866-YO-ROVER. That's 1-866-967-6837. If you don't win those tickets from us today, you can get tickets at theqarena.com, or you can call 1-888-894-9424, or get them at the Quicken Loans Arena box office, and go see Daniel Bryan and everyone else that is going to be over there. I mean, who are you taking on tonight?
Oh gosh, that's one of the best things about WWE. You never know what's going to happen. So I have no idea what I'm doing tonight. The one scheduled match is a guy named CM Punk wrestling in kind of a handicap match.
A handicap match.
Yeah, where he's wrestling two guys, but one of them is a manager named Paul Heyman. So the other guy is Curtis Axel. And usually there's some. I think it's a no holds barred match, so you could see some pretty fun, exciting stuff. It's gonna be an awesome show.
He seems like he's been in the studio with us before, CM Punk.
Oh, yeah.
He seemed like a pretty cool guy. You get along with that guy?
He's fascinating.
Yeah.
He is a fascinating human being. He has a great story. If you were ever to talk to him about his life and that sort of thing, he's a really interesting dude.
I mean, he was very cool when he was in here. Well, enjoy Daniel tonight. While you can get him for the next few years before he's out there, farming,
organic farm,
doing his organic farm. His vegetables will be glistening at that point.
And a really weird thing is that my girlfriend is kind of a little weird about is that I want to get a composting toilet, which is essentially using your own.
So you take a crap and then you put it out there on your food?
Yeah, to fertilize your food. So.
Gee, go figure. A woman's not really into that idea.
Well, do you know what?
She
is actually completely 100% down. Her sister, however, is like, that's the grossest thing I've ever heard. So.
Well, it sounds like you have a match made in heaven with this girlfriend, because I don't think you'd find too many other girls that would be into that kind
or
of
guys, really. Anybody.
Pretty much no one in the world would want to do that, as a matter of fact. Well, Daniel,
hey,
thank you.
Rover.
Yes,
I don't mean to interrupt, but
yes,
I
Jeffrey.
thought we could give Daniel Bryan a quick laugh and show him my back. I told him a little about my backyard wrestling I did last summer. I thought you might want to see some of the footage and get a big laugh out of it.
I don't think I have
up?
any footage of it loaded, unless Anthony, our video guy, has it loaded up. You have to sort of give me a heads up on this sort of stuff, Jeff.
Well, I thought you knew. I thought you knew I was a big wrestling fan. I thought you were gonna be able to.
Right.
But,
we revolve all of our interviews around you, Jeff.
No,
Jeffrey's
not
a
around
big
me.
wrestling.
Well, you did show Alberto Del Rio
noticed.
when he was in studio a piece of my backyard wrestling footage, and Ricardo Rodriguez got a big laugh out of it.
Yes.
So I thought Daniel could get a big laugh out of it.
Well,
So every wrestler that comes through,
we
you
have
show
to
your
show
wrestling.
your
No,
backyard.
I just.
Is it too late, Daniel, for Jeffrey to give up his dreams of being a wrestler? He's
I think he
42.
can make it.
Absolutely not.
He can make
Absolutely
it.
not. I think he should go to a wrestling school. It's very important that you train before you do this, because you can get hurt really bad.
Right.
But I suspect if he goes and trains, if he's got the heart and the desire, I know he's got
he has the physique for sure.
physique for sure. The physique for sure. He will do great.
How many weird guys? Seriously, because I've been to one of these WWE shows. I've seen people on TV. How many just bizarre people do you meet that are fans of wrestling, and you meet them, you go, I can't believe I just met someone that friggin' strange, like in real life.
Well, do you know what? It happens all the time, and it's not necessarily just in wrestling. I'm sure you guys get the same thing.
We meet some strange people.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And
Him,
so,
for instance.
Right. But he also happens to be in the studio,
Yes.
and also a wrestling fan. So probably, but yeah, we meet some really crazy people just in our travels, and that's one of the fun parts is meeting fun, interesting people.
Daniel Bryan, thank you, my man. I have to take a quick break. We'll be right back on Rover's Morning Glory. Hang on.